Hello, my name's Barry Good from the London School of Business and Finance. And today we're going to look at Lesson 7, which is Managing Change. And this is as part of the MBA in Strategic Planning. Talking about change management is all about taking practical steps to implement business strategy. In previous modules, we've talked about understanding the market, the external market that provides us with opportunity to either grow the business, launch new products, or perhaps do what we're doing differently. But depending on the information and the data that we gather drives the change management strategy or the actions that we undertake as a company. So this is the first practical step in terms of doing something different. The outcomes of this module are firstly to identify the complexities of implementation and to understand the importance of company values as driving forces for change. Management have a fundamental role to play in any change management process. An effective management implementation of strategy requires urgency, effective leadership, the appropriate structure within the business, and the right attitude relating to organisational values. Management role in change is the difference between success and failure in many organisations. So what drives change in modern businesses? Organisations need to change for a variety of different reasons. Ultimately, organisations need to make money and be profitable and to provide shareholder value. However, there might be reasons to change which are driven by new products, new opportunities, expanding markets or shrinking markets. Companies merge, businesses get acquired, and that will always influence the structure, the roles and responsibilities of people working within those companies. There are many reasons for change. Change can be large scale and affect many people, or it might just affect a small number of people within an organisation. So what is organisational change? Organisations don't change on their own. Organisations change as a result of the employees that work within them. First and foremost, external change often drives the need for organisations to do things differently. So external change can take a number of different forms. Sometimes government intervention, economic changes, societal changes, changes in technology, different customer needs, competitors, and the environment will all change the market forces that drive a business forward. If a product that a company offers is no longer popular, people will stop buying it. That will then change, or that will then drive the requirement for the business to respond to that. Companies respond by looking at their internal structure. They might change their business strategy, they might change their business structure, they might look at the roles and responsibilities of people within the company, all of which might be impacted as a result of changes in the market environment. However, in order for change to be implemented effectively, it requires the right skills, the right motivation, and the right values to be demonstrated by the employees it affects. Having the right skills and the right thinking as we embrace change is important and often is the difference between change being successfully implemented or change being badly implemented. Now, the traditional view to change held by Lewin was that the organisation was fixed, and in order to change it, it had to be unfixed. So the first stage in the traditional change management process was that the company needed to be unfrozen. This then allowed for change to take place, for there to be some kind of movement or transition from the current position. And then once the change had been implemented, the organisation was crystallised again. It was refrozen and fixed in the new position. The view that we hold nowadays is more different. It's more dynamic than that. The view that we hold today is that companies evolve continuously, that markets evolve continuously, and that the change process is almost a continuous process. So change is continuously adapting to and shaping a dynamic environment through the ongoing development of capability. What does this mean? This means that by developing a change mindset within employees, they are much better prepared and much more able to deal with the change management process. Change becomes a daily expectation, and by giving people the capability and the skills to adapt to those changes enables them to deal with the change management process more effectively. So what are the critical success factors for delivering change through people? First, and probably most importantly, is having a shared vision, mission, and strategy. If people don't know why they're changing or why they're being asked to change, they're less likely to embrace the change process. Senior managers have a responsibility to understand and define why change is necessary. Once that picture has been defined, it needs to be communicated and internalised by those it affects. Often that's done by engaging senior leaders or change leaders within an organisation to help impart the requirements and the vision necessary to drive the change process. Often, shareholders need to be involved to endorse the change process and agree that the change is necessary and to support the change process. As part of the process, high-performing project teams are necessary to define a plan, to look at timings, to look at execution, and to ensure that people are trained to deal with any changes in their role or their responsibilities. It's also important to ensure that processes are aligned and that there's clear governance. And what we mean by that is that there are proper owners to the change process, people who are held accountable for things going off track or things not progressing the way they should do. The other important aspect of motivation is ensuring that recognition for performance is measured and rewarded, and that behaviour manifests correctly during the change process. What this fundamentally means is that there is an emotional aspect to change. As people, we tend to find change uncomfortable, and we find that during the change process, people feel vulnerable. This we refer to as the emotional change cycle for individuals and organisations. Often, change is initially received optimistically. People find the fact that things are going to be done differently as perhaps an opportunity to mend things which aren't working quite so well. So initially there tends to be quite a positive reception to change. However, as we progress through the change cycle and obstacles and difficulties are encountered, that can then result in doubt being felt and a lot of disenchantment sometimes from employees. Once the change plan is implemented and some early wins are achieved, those feelings can often be replaced by a degree of hope and optimism. And then as we progress through the implementation or the change cycle and the bulk of the work is delivered, that's then replaced with a sense of satisfaction. And the feeling of satisfaction then encourages further positive change outcomes. So in summary, there are 5 stages to the emotional change cycle. First stage is certainty. There's a honeymoon period where ideas look good on paper, and there's an overall anticipation and excitement about the change that's taking place. Then as problems start to surface, that gets replaced by phase 2, which is a phase of doubt. Morale can drop, and there can be a feeling of why people ever got involved in the change process. They're finding the pain of the change process uncomfortable. Phase 3 of the change cycle is hope, and this is where a turning point occurs. There's a sense of accomplishment, some early problems are overcome, and there's a sense of optimism. Phase 4 of the emotional cycle is when optimism continues to develop, there's a fresh burst of energy and confidence levels increase. Phase 5 is the satisfaction stage, and this is where people feel that successful change has been implemented, that the initial effort has been rewarded, and that there's an outcome of deliverance. At the same time, it's important that the organisation manages 6 steps to the implementation of change. So the first step is to assess and build change readiness. This is about communicating the vision for the future, getting people on board with the change plans, and feeling confident about their role and the aspects that they're going to be executing as part of the change plan. Step 2 is managing the change programme and projects, making sure that the order in which change takes place is delivered effectively, and that there's a logical sequence to how the change is implemented. Step 3 is to communicate and involve the right people in the change process. Step 4, monitor and achieve the change objectives. Step 5, monitor the achievement of change objectives. And step 6, manage team motivation and performance. Top management has a critical role to play in launching transformation. Leadership engagement is essential to ensure that the hearts and minds of those affected are won. Communication has to be constant to reinforce the necessity for change and to ensure that people are comfortable with it. First and foremost is developing a sense of urgency amongst the leadership team, clearly defining the visions for success, defining clarity among the leadership team on their role in the change programme, and defining a roadmap for organisational effectiveness. Recruiting the right team to drive the success of the change strategy is also an essential part of change management. So in summary, change is a complex process. Management support is needed throughout the whole change cycle. Plans need to be developed and communicated clearly to all those who are affected, and measurement of success needs to be clear and clearly implemented. Thank you very much. My name is Barry Good. This is Lesson 7, Managing Change, as part of the MBA Strategic Planning module.